Today, we're going to be talking about using scientific equipment and making more quantitative observations. We will be using some science materials. You will also be needing a note sheet that says triple beam balance to fill in while you're going through this video today. Get one of those off the front counter. We have been talking about how matter has mass. So today we're going to try for our performance goal to say, I can use a scale accurately to measure the weight of an object. There's many different kinds of scales. There's the personal scale you might have at home. There's electronic digital scales. And there's also the one that you'll find in most science classrooms, which is called a triple beam balance scale. And that is the one that we're going to use today. We have been discovering all about matter over the last couple of weeks, and we have said that matter's definition is anything that has mass and takes up space or volume. Today, we're going to be working on the mass part of it. So what exactly is mass? Mass is the amount of matter that's in an object. So if you look at these three pictures below, we have the solid molecules that are close together and lined up all perfectly into a shape. Then we have the liquid molecules that are all lined up randomly and spread out just a little bit more. And then we have gas molecules that are spread out much further away from each other in a container. To determine things that you can't see, we can't really see those molecules inside those containers or inside the solid liquids and gases. So we have to kind of find a way to determine that. And to figure that out, we usually can weigh it. At least on Earth, the weight of that material is usually what we would say is the mass. In this lesson, we're going to be measuring the mass of a solid with what we call a triple beam balance. So this video is going to explain to you how to use one of those, and then as we get going, you'll be using the ones that are around the classroom. So a triple beam balance looks like this. There are different parts to it. We have the pan, that is where you would put the object that you're actually going to be weighing. There's three beams, obviously, that's why they call it the triple beam balance. There's these riders or weights that get slid along the beams and are usually made sure that they're in the notches. At least the hundreds and the tens have to be in one of the notched areas in order for it to count correctly. We also have a zero marker. That's where you see that move up and down and has to be zeroed out in order for it to equal the amount that's on the pan. And as in all of the things that we've been talking about in science, the triple beam balance uses the metric system. So it will be the amount of grams that are the weight of the object that you are measuring. This balance is called the triple beam, again, because it has three beams which carry all those weights that slide back and forth across it. The middle beam reads only in 100-gram increments. The far away beam reads in 10-gram increments. And these two beams always must sit in a notch. They cannot be placed at any point on the beam, just where the numbers are. The weight on the front beam, that can be read continuously. It can be slid very gently to get exactly the right number, and it goes from 0 to 10, counting by ones, and then each part in between is just like the ruler, where it's a decimal point. On your guided notes, make sure that you have labeled these correctly. The top part is called the pan. Those three areas are called the beams. Those beams are read in 100 grams, 10 grams, and 1 gram. The bottom thing, or what's slid across, are called riders, or sometimes they're called the weights. And then you also need to be very aware of where the zero marker is. What you're going to be doing next at the end of this video is make sure that your guided notes are all filled in. and then get an answer sheet to check that with the teacher. So when Mrs. Mahalski gives you that, check your answers. You can glue that into your notebook and then move on to the next part of this, which is reading the Triple Beam Balance website. All you're going to do on this website is you're going to be clicking the play button, listening to what he says, and giving, when it finishes, click on the next arrow, and then it will give you another problem, and eventually it'll give you some practice problems to do. When you're all done, move on to the next step in our lessons.